Look at the very, very end again before he sort of um, has the very closing. It names all the kids who were murdered. Um, he talks about all the world's religions, so many of them represented here today. Start with a simple question: why are we here? What gives our life meaning? What gives our acts purpose? We know our time on this earth is fleeting. It talks about God's heavenly plans. Let the little children come to me, Jesus said, and not hinder them, for to such belongs the kingdom of heaven. So many examples. God has called them home. So again, what I would do, here's the priestly voice or the priestly role. Here are some examples, and here's how I think it functioned for the audience there and the audience as whole. The next set of paragraphs, wherever you are, again, have some sort of transition. In addition, we see that President Obama attempted to transform deaths into symbols of national resilience. And there's a lot of stuff in here about how they inspired us, not only the dead, but those who were helped. We see all this stuff in here. Right after he sort of talks about, here in Newtown I have come to offer love and prayers of a nation, so he makes this a national eulogy. That it's not just them, it's the entire nation that is mourning. And then he moves, as these difficult days have unfolded, you've also inspired us with stories of strength and resolve and sacrifice. We know that when danger arrived in the halls of Sandy Hook Elementary, the school staff did not flinch. They did not hesitate. He names the teachers, I think, that were killed. They responded as we all hope we might respond in such terrifying circumstances, with courage and with love, giving their lives to protect the children in their care. We know that there were other teachers who barricaded themselves inside classrooms and kept them steady through it all, and reassured their students by saying, "Wait for the good guys, they're coming." And there's lots of little things. There was a thing in the only time that the president got any laughter here, which is not sometimes appropriate in these situations. And then there were the scenes of the school children helping one another, holding each other, dutifully following instructions in the way that young children sometimes do. One child even trying to encourage a grown-up by saying, "I know karate, so it's okay. I'll lead the way out." So there's lots of different examples here. And again, this is also part of just, transforming the folks at Newtown and Newtown itself into a metaphor for the entire nation. And these people are courageous people. So again, there's lots of examples like that. I'll let you read more about it. But Newtown becomes a symbol for the country. So again, I would have topic sentence in addition, President Obama, blah, 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 blah. For instance, we see that he said this, blah, 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 blah. Then maybe talk about how you think that functioned or worked for the various audiences. And then we get to the final element. So again, some sort of transition to another paragraph. Finally, we see that President Obama also tried to showcase how he will work to forestall a repetition of the catastrophe, and then give specific examples from the speech. And there are tons of examples in here. In fact, the last part of the speech, or not the very last part, but in the middle, it's all about that. But it's implicit in a sense. Well, it's not terribly implicit, but it's not. He doesn't give specific things. This is what we should do. But when it starts, but we as a nation, we are left with some hard questions. Someone once described the joy and anxiety of parenthood, blah, 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 blah. But it talks about, and we learn that our most important job is to give them, children, what they need to become self-reliant, capable, resilient, ready to face the world with fear. So what are we to do? So as a nation, we have a duty to protect our children. And we know that we can't do this by ourselves as parents, right? And so the job of keeping our children safe and teaching them well is something we can only do together. That we're all parents. That they're all our children. So so this is our first task, caring for our children. It's our first job. If we don't get that right, we don't get anything right. That's how, as a society, we will be judged. And by that measure, can we truly say as a nation that we are meeting our obligations? Can we honestly say that we're doing enough to keep our children, all of them, safe from harm? And so he basically says, no. I've been reflecting on all this the last few days, and if we're honest with ourselves, the answer is no, we're not doing enough, and we all have to change. Since I've been president, this is the 4th time we have come together to comfort a grieving community torn apart by mass shooting. The 4th time we hug survivors, the 4th time we've been consoled. Blah, 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 blah. When I say blah, 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 I'm not dismissing what he's having to say. I'm just saying, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and moves on. Next paragraph. We can't tolerate this anymore. These tragedies must end. We will be told that the causes of such violence are complex, and that is true. No single law, no set of laws can eliminate the evil from the world, prevent every senseless act of violence in our society. But that can't be an excuse for inaction. So he talks about all this stuff. In the coming weeks, I will use whatever power this office holds to engage my fellow citizens. Blah, 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 blah. So there's a lot of that stuff in the middle where he's implying, we have to have a discussion to figure out how to deal with these situations. So again, in your paper, for this last element, have lots of examples, and then sort of, tell me how you think that sort of functioned for the speech and for the audiences. Then, after that, maybe, when they're talking about, is this a masterpiece? Is it? I don't know. Probably not. But you can sort of maybe have a paragraph about that. Does it meet, after you've talked about forestalling repetition of the catastrophe, do you think it met the eulogistic requirements? Do you think maybe it transcended it in such a way to make it a masterpiece of a speech? And then I would end your own essay by saying, again, how effective was this speech? What did it do? And that would be up to you. I would argue that this was probably a decent speech, but at the end of the day, because of lots of different situations, he wanted major changes in gun laws. He didn't get it. He tried to forestall repetition of the catastrophe. He really didn't. We continue to see gun violence throughout the country. So from that perspective, maybe this is a failed speech. But that, again, is something that you would need to decide for yourself when you're analyzing and evaluating whatever speech that you're looking at. So hopefully this has sort of helped you get a sense of not only the national eulogy speech, but also what I'm wanting for these the first paper, and how I would like you to apply a particular genre and the generic elements to a particular speech, sort of using the elements as your organizational structure, always starting the paper with some sort of contextual paragraph, ending it with some sort of final sort of evaluation or critique of how you think it worked. Was it a good speech? Was it an appropriate and successful response to the situation, or not? So hopefully that helps. I plan to have, maybe today, probably not, but tomorrow, a list of everybody who's sent me your Tumblr IDs or login, whatever they're called, as well as your Twitter accounts. And don't forget to thread. And also remember that really for the summer, people, when they're having face-to-face classes, it's only Monday through Thursday, so I'm not going to give you anything new tomorrow. But again, I will try to put up all the Tumblr and Twitter stuff, so you can follow one another if you want to. But also, I think I mentioned this in an email. Several of you, or not several of you, a few of you have mentioned that you're uncomfortable using social media, and if that's the case, that's cool with me. I can negotiate with you so long as you send me some sort of pretty thorough weekly reflections on your reading and your thinking about what to do for your papers. That would be fine. And remember, you need to have thread. Respond to my first prompt about the rhetorical presidency and one other person by the end of the day on Sunday, if you haven't done it already. You have to have that Tumblr first blog up by Sunday. You have to have the first tweet up by Sunday, or else if you've contacted me and negotiated some other, if you don't want to use social media, you need to have some sort of very thorough reflection on your readings and everything like that this week to me by Sunday. But email me and let me know how I can help. Take care. I will see you virtually at some other point.